today I'm gonna draw Pikachu. Yeah, my wife and I are currently watching the new episodes of Picard, the newest Star Trek series on Amazon Prime. I never really was a Star Trek fan. I never watched anything from the TV shows. There are quite a lot. But I started to watch the movies. I think I made it until the third one, so William Shatner and Spock times. And I can't say I didn't like them, but they didn't really stick with me, so I didn't really follow up on that. But my wife is a total Trekkie. To do her a favor, because she's always watching my superhero stuff, we just started to watch Picard. And since he's also Professor Xavier from the X-Men, I kind of have a connection with Patrick Stewart, so it's fine for me. And it is kind of interesting how huge this universe has become. The races of aliens with all the planets, all the technology and whatsoever. I always see how my wife recognizes something and has to laugh, or is just happy to see it. It's just like when I watch a crossover superhero movie and recognize a character that was in a movie 5 years ago or something. Someday I just came up with this thought that I wanted to draw a Pikachu. Because as a Pokemon fan, you have to admit that his last name, sounds quite a lot like Picard. Well, if you watch the series in English, they actually speak the D at the end of the name, so they say Picard. I think in a German version, they speak it more French, since he's Jean-Luc Picard. So it makes sense that the D is silent. I started with his face, with his little slits of eyes, which are kind of weird and always make me wonder, has he done some facelifting that gone a little wrong? I don't know. Then he has a rather huge nose, which didn't come out that good in this picture. A broad mouth. Of course, wrinkles. He's rather old. Even if his face stays pretty tight. So I don't know if in the end you can recognize him even without knowing that it's supposed to be Patrick Stewart. You let me know. But it was just a fun idea. I just wanted to draw him pretty quick. So I didn't spend too much time with refining it and making it even more similar. Yeah, then I had to place the ears, the Pikachu ears, to finally make the fusion in some ways. First I wanted to do them where his normal ears would be, but that looked way too much like a Vulcan? Is that right? Like Mr. Spock. So I just put them where they belong to, which actually fit very well because he has a bald head, and so does Pikachu. Then the darker parts on his on the end of his ears. But then I thought, oh, let's make it more Star Trek, and I tried to make the Starfleet symbol logo. Yeah, and then I was really struggling with his body, because if you look the new series Picard, he's very thin. He really looks frail, kind of unhealthy, and I tried to implement that with his arms and so on, but it just didn't look good, and it didn't look right. I just in the end put some wrinkles on his arms and on his neck to indicate that it's, the old Picard. Then while coloring, I decided to give him his red cheek dots, and I went for all the face shadows and more wrinkles that didn't look as good with a thick black outline. So I made them more subtle with this darker kind of yellow. Then of course shine on his bald head. And then since he was already sitting like that, I wanted to give him back his original Star Trek Enterprise captain seat, which really took most work in all of this painting. Like I already said in other videos, I don't like symmetry, I don't like drawing symmetry. Especially those recognizable things on his armrests. I don't know what they're supposed to be. I think it's kind of technology stuff to control the Enterprise. I don't know. I have to ask my wife. But I was really struggling with those. I don't know why. It also didn't work out perfectly to just copy and mirror this thing onto the other side. I basically should have just drawn half of the whole seat and copy that also entirely. Would have worked better. Then the colors, the shadows and a little shine. And in the end, for all of those who didn't recognize him the first time, had to make it obvious with him speaking, with his mouth closed, of course. Picard. That's the font from the original Game Boy games, by the way. that's my Pikachu. Hope you like this idea. I always had to laugh when I thought about this. Now I have a picture to support it. Let me know in the comments how you like this picture, of course, but also how you like the new series, because I definitely heard kind of divided thoughts about it. Some Trekkies love it, some don't, because it's too much talking, not enough action. For me, it's always what Star Trek was about, but apparently not. And I would be especially interested in opinions of people who never or very rarely watched Star Trek, like me, like myself. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time. May the Lord, that's me, be with you. See ya. Picard, Picard. Pika, Picard.